Infectious greed, must read out on the internet if you're in the tech space. That's that hip thing too. Tech space. With us, Paul Kedrosky. He's Bloomberg.com contributor and a guy that knows a lot about not only tech but also derivatives out of the Combine of Statistics, Western Ontario. Paul, good noon to you.
Hey, Tom.
I got like 8 ways to go here. Let me start, first of all, we just got off with Apple and Verizon and all the media like this, that, and the other thing. Come on, cut to the chase. Can anybody innovate like Apple? Aren't they the ones leading the charge here?
Sure. No, I mean, that's the whole story here. The whole story is everyone, knocking each other over in the hallways to get a hold of iPhone, and they want to be able to distribute it and have the same uptake that AT&T had. And, Verizon just wants the same product on their same shelves, and so they can do the exact same thing and, hopefully have a little more success with respect to the calling side. I mean, the knock against AT&T, which in some ways is unfair, has been the drop call knock, and Verizon arguably has had a more robust caller network. Yeah, so we'll see how that works out when the flood of data comes on.
In my experience, folks, is with AT&T is frankly, I haven't had that many drop calls. Some, but it's gotten better. Here's a chart. Innovation wins out. It's a Paul Kedrosky chart. It's an elegant chart. And you see here back to 1995, Apple, the struggles, and then Apple really brings it on where Dell Computer, which Paul, I look at as a non-innovator, really like gives it up. Is innovation more important now than it was 10 years ago?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, it's become in almost every sector of the economy, but in particular in technology. Everyone realizes that the pace at which you make your own products obsolete is really the key. Your willingness to sort of undercut yourself and, quite frankly, gut your own products really dictates how quickly you can grow. Because if you're not willing to do it, someone else is. And the most interesting thing about Apple's growth over the last few years is that there was a great McKinsey study a couple of years ago showing that no Fortune 500 company that had growth fall below, I think it was 3% a year, had ever come back to growth again. And Apple just last year put in the fastest growing year in its own history and in the history of large cap public companies in the United States.
Which company that we don't know are you following where you can say, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but you can say, wow, it's the same attitude as Apple. What's the name? I don't know. I don't care if they're public or private. What's an example of jobs of 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, most of the ones that I would point to, are on the private side of things. So, you look at companies, quite frankly, like a Twitter, for example, that are doing really funky, crazy, interesting things that people are completely dismissive of and say, that'll never generate revenue. That's, it's a toy, it's a plaything. These are the hallmarks that I look for. It's back to Clay Christensen sort of thing with respect to disruptive technologies. They initially get dismissed as toys. So I always look for technologies that are being dismissed by the cynics as toys, and those are good. That's a good example.
Okay, Paul's too young to remember this, but there was a thing called Dogpile, and then one day there was a thing called Google, and we all dismissed it. We said, yeah, so what? Who cares? And then there was this thing where books through the mail. Are you kidding? Here's a chart normalized back to 2004. It's another elegant chart. We're loaded up today. Facebook, surge and plateau or grow. So, Paul, you've got Amazon growing steadily, struggles here and there, and then like eBay, you've got a Google surge, and they essentially plateau in share price. If Facebook goes public, will they be like Google, surge and then plateau out in value, or will they be like an Amazon where they incrementally grow over time?
Well, it's certainly the way that it's coming right now. And there was a good story this morning, I think, in the Times with an interview with a few folks, Roger McNamee among them, making the argument that one of the reasons why we're seeing this explosion in value for Facebook in the private markets, which is totally unusual, is because people see it as a Google in the sense that if they don't have stock immediately, they'll miss that explosion out of the gate. And that's why everyone's positioning themselves to be shareholders pre-IPO, because they don't want to have happen to them what happened whenever Google went public in that reverse auction that came out at, I think it was $85, that people were dismissing of, and then they missed the initial run. And so we're having the exact reverse now, where that initial bump's getting priced in the private markets, which we've never seen happen before.
I mean, I really like this point in Roger's work at T. Rowe Price and on at Elevation and all that. I mean, the spirit out there seems to be different. For an East Coast guy like me, what is, and I use this in a general sense, Paul, the Silicon Valley of today, how is it different from 2007? Besides, everybody's still wearing black. I mean, we all know everybody's still wearing black, just like you and your styling today. But what's the difference from 3 years ago?
So the difference is it's lighter weight. You know, it's the shrunken down version. And you know, the cliche in the industry is it takes much less capital now than it did, you know, certainly than 10 years ago, and even 5 years ago, to get to a proof point, to sort of get, I call it getting human data, if you want to think about it in medical device terms. The cost of acquiring human data in technology, meaning putting a product in front of people who can say, you know, that's great or that's awful, is the lowest it's ever been, and it's lower than it was even 5 years ago. So the difference is now the cost to get human data has fallen through the floor. It's still expensive to grow a business, but I can throw stuff out in front of people and find out if it works cheaper than ever, and that's fantastic for experimentation, which is the ethos of Silicon Valley.
Within the venture capital and the real startups, the people watching that want to get in front of people like Paul Kedrosky, are you seeing a lot of deals pitched to you now, or is there a dearth of good deals?
It's absolutely absurd how many good deals, and how many deals in general, and then as a byproduct of that, how many good deals are flowing by right now. The issue isn't so much the quantity of deals, it's the valuation. It's never been more competitive in early stage financing of hot tech deals than it is today. Even more competitive in many ways than it was in '99, for better or for worse.
Very good. I'm going to get a tattoo, 3 earrings, and move to Brooklyn so I can talk to Paul Kedrosky next time. Here's read this. It's a book Paul loves. Frequently asked questions. Bring it up here. I get goosebumps. Paul Wilmot on kurtosis. Frequently asked questions in quantitative finance. This is a great book to have on your desk when you don't understand Paul Kedrosky's infectious greed.